what is an option?
Marlon says right. I don't know.
Gotcha. An option is simply a contract, okay? Everybody needs to understand that. It's a contract to buy or sell a security at a specific price within a specific time period for a specific premium, right? That sounds really kind of, dry and not much fun. So an option is simply a contract to buy or sell a security. Well, what's a security? And in this case, we're really talking about stocks, right? Maybe ETFs, indices. Buy or sell a security at a specific price, like $75 a share, within a specific time period, say the next 3 months, for a specific premium, $15.10. Now, for all of the folks that trade this business quite a bit, this is not a formal definition. This is what we need to know right now in order for everybody to kind of get the concept. Okay. Anybody have any questions about this definition or any of the things that it contains? We're going to go further into it, but I just want to make sure that if somebody's got a question, that we can solve it now.
Marlon72 says, gives you right to buy or sell call and put.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in just a second. Options come in two flavors, calls and puts. For now, we're just going to talk about call options. Okay? So just know that they come in two flavors, calls and puts, and we're just going to talk about calls. Okay? So let's say we bought some call options on Netflix because we think it's going to go up. Okay, let's stop right there. Right? What kind of options did we buy? Call options. And we bought it on a security, Netflix. And why did we buy a call option on Netflix? Because we think it's going to go up. Okay? So those are all things that you want to kind of collapse together, right? If you're buying call options, you're bullish on the stock. And bullish simply means that you believe the stock is going to go up. Okay? So buying calls means that we think the stock is going to go up. Okay? So we decide, for Netflix, we buy the June 35 calls for $8.70. Okay? We buy the June, and all the months are always abbreviated in 3 letters. We buy the June 35 calls for A870. Here's something we need to edit. Right there, take that A out. Just make a little note. For $8.70. So the question is, what did we really get? Right? That sounds all fine and exciting, but what really did we get out of that? Well, remember that all options contain 3 elements: price, time, and premium. Our June 35 calls on Netflix gave us the right, but not the obligation to buy shares at Netflix at $35 a share, which is the price, between now and the 3rd Friday of June, which defines the time, for $8.70, which should be the premium. Okay? So if we can have just make a note for me and I'll edit that, put premium in. We have this right even if the price of Netflix goes to $60 a share. Okay? Let's talk about that for a second. So I have 2 kids, right? And those guys, they love to watch movies, and they really love to go to Blockbuster. And so when we would go to Blockbuster, our movies are going to cost us $5 a piece, maybe $6. And you've got, the kids and the treats, and okay, well, the treats are for me, but I share them with the kids. And so, you're getting out of there for, $15 to $20. Compare that with Netflix, right? Netflix allows us to stay at home, have a broader selection, get reviews from other viewers, right, and have 3 or 4 movies at a time that we can kind of mail back and forth, right? And where I live, it only takes a day or 2 to exchange movies. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, my gosh, you know what? Netflix, yeah, they're maintaining warehouses, but they're not maintaining brick and mortar. They don't have, I don't know how many stores Blockbuster has, probably several thousand stores. They don't have a bunch of employees that have to show up and, snow removal in the parking lot and lights and heat and all those fun things. So I get a very similar product with, in my opinion, better service, better selection at a cheaper price. That to me seems like a no-brainer. That to me says, wow, you know what? Unless you think the entire space of movies on DVD is going to go away, Netflix has got it. Right? It's going to be very difficult to unseat Netflix. They have a very defensible position. So because of that, I go out and I buy these June 35 calls for $8.70. Okay? If Netflix goes to $60 a share, right, I have the right to buy them for $35 a share. Okay, so think about that for a second. No matter what price Netflix goes to, I have the right between now and expiration on June to buy those shares for $35 a share. Okay, so in this example, we paid $8.70 for the calls, and let's say Netflix is at $60 a share. How much will our calls be worth? How much will those calls have appreciated at $60 a share?
25 plus the 870.
Yeah, so the $25 difference, right? The $25 appreciation. So assuming all things equal and a bit approximate, that $8.70 that we invested would be worth, $25 a contract. So that's what, 300% return? Something like that. Okay. In order to achieve that, of course, we would have to get, one, the price movement right, that it's going to go up, and two, it has to go up in the time we have allowed, right? The time we have allowed is only till the third Friday of June of 2009. Okay, so you have to get those two elements right. If you get those two elements right, you can make just enormous returns, right? Notice for a second that if Netflix, instead of going to $60 a share, it goes to $0 a share, right? Like it goes bankrupt, or all of a sudden broadband movie delivery comes out and it's all exciting and it's kind of setting the world on fire. If it goes to $0 a share, how much money have we lost? We invested $8.70. What will our June calls be worth?
Marlon says $8.70.
Yeah, so they'll be worth zero, so that means we've lost the entire investment of $8.70. Okay. So, and you'll see this come up again. We're going to kind of beat this horse for the next 10 minutes or so. Any questions about this so far? If you do have a question, just type a couple of question marks on the chat box, and I'll know that you're typing out your question. Okay. Still a little confused? Well, let's look at some real-life examples of call options. A movie studio gets a new screenplay for the next Mrs. Doubtfire. They aren't sure that they want to commit $50 million for a new movie, but they really like the screenplay and want to keep other studios from buying it. The writers want $5 million. That's pretty good business to be in, right? Instead of buying the screenplay for $5 million, they talk with the writers and create a contract that gives the studio the right to buy this screenplay for $5 million, which is the price, anytime over the next year, which is time, for $250,000 today, which is premium. Okay? This is something that happens all the time in Hollywood. I've actually had a couple of friends that have had screenplays that were optioned, and they didn't make $250,000. One made $100,000 for a year, and one made, I think, $25,000 for a year. And in neither case did the studio end up buying the screenplays. But, they basically got that money just for making the pitch and having some interest from the studio. Right? So this is a way that the studio was able to control a potentially $5 million screenplay for $250,000. Does that make sense? That's a much better use of cash to spend the $250,000 than to spend the $5 million and find out, we didn't want it, or we couldn't get the star that we were after, or whatever it was, or family movies are out of vogue right now. All right. Any questions about that scenario? You can see it has the same three elements: price, $5 million, time over the next year, and premium, $250,000. Nothing like that? Okay. Here's another example. This is actually something that I did. I find a house near a really nice part of town. The house is old and small with a big lot. It's currently worth $250,000. I think just the lot will be worth $350,000 sometime in the next 5 years. I don't really have $250,000 to spend, but I really want this deal. What do I do? Well, I'm going to do some kind of an option, right? Because this is an option course. I purchase an option from the homeowner that gives me the right to buy. Okay? Anytime you're buying a call, you get the right to buy, right? That house for $275,000, which is the price, anytime over the next 5 years, which really should be time. There's another edit for us. See where we've got price twice? So we have price twice. Really, that should be time. Over the next 5 years, time for $11,000, which is the premium today. So instead of spending $250,000 to buy the house and hope that it went up, I spent $11,000 to take the chance for the opportunity for it to go up. I later sold that contract to a developer for $55,000. So I got a 500% return on my money. And notice what was cool about it. I love real estate. What was cool about it was I never had to buy the house. I didn't have to close. I didn't have to bulldoze it. I didn't have to build anything. All I had to do was figure it out, where I thought the market was going to go, get it under contract, and then sell that contract to someone else who was willing to go through all that trouble and heartache. The other thing I thought was funny was notice that the price that I had to buy the house at wasn't at current value, $250,000. It was $25,000 above that, because this guy knew that, I think it's going to go up, so why would I sell it to you today at today's price? Yeah, makes sense. Smart guy. All right. Another real life example. You hear about this high school kid that just got cut from his basketball team. You've seen him play and think that he has talent. If you would just work a little harder and practice a little more. He's a sophomore, so you figure he's got some time. You work out a deal where you can buy half of his professional lifetime earnings for $1 million, which is the price, any time in the next 10 years, which is time. All you have to do is give him $15,000, which is the premium, today, so that he can quit his after-school job and practice basketball full-time, right? So you've got 10 years. And in that 10-year time, he'll get through 2 years of high school, 4 years of college, and 4 years of pro, if he goes pro, right? That player turns out to be number 23, Michael Jordan. So gives you some idea of not just the construct of options, right, that they always have those three elements, price, time, and premium, but also some of the power of those options, right? We're going to spend some time talking about leverage and this idea of how you can take a little bit of something, whether it's money or talent or fame, whatever it is, and use that to create an exaggerated return, right? Obviously, for $15,000, getting, I know there was 1 year Michael Jordan made $100 million in a single year. So who knows what this option could be worth? $500 million, something like that. And I'm being extreme just to prove the point. But you get the idea that if you had 10 basketball players and you put $15,000 down on each one, and those are promising basketball players, you really only need to have one make it and knock it out of the park and pay for everything else. This is very similar to what you'll see in like venture capitalists and angel investors too.